Make of the Trey Lance trade to Dallas.
Weird situation. Been a lot of weird situations over there in San Francisco. Just to leave it at that. But I'm happy Trey got another shot, man.
How do you think San Francisco's handled those quarterback situations?
Yes, sir. We are here for another live episode of the Eric Crocker Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, and we're getting to all things San Francisco 49ers, starting with final 53-man roster, things that I'm looking forward to seeing as cut downs happen. It's really only a few guys I'm looking into. All right. We also are going to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo kind of taking a shot at the 49ers organization. We thought we'd turn in a page on former 49er quarterbacks, not just yet, and the 5 most impactful San Francisco 49ers. I thought that list would be kind of a little easier to make, but it was actually kind of difficult. Hello this morning. Welcome everybody into the chat. Good morning. I see the flames going up this morning. Everybody feeling good. Jim, what up? Jay, what up? Griffin, what up? Mike Shields, what up? Khalil Young. Okay, everybody feeling good. Dynamite Dave, let's go, let's go, let's go. Appreciate everybody for tuning this morning. And y'all know what to do, man.
Like and subscribe this video.
Yeah. Of course, this show is always brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you go to underdogfantasy.com or download the app. And when you deposit up to $100 and use promo code Crocky, they will double your deposit. All right, up to $100. So make sure y'all tune into that. Of course, you guys can find this audio, the live version, on Spotify, on Apple, all that good stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I don't promote the podcast. I don't promote this channel. It's not like I post it on social media. So it kind of, the way that this channel has grown is really just more like super organic. I don't think I've ever posted the podcast, the audio version, on social media at all. I don't even post that I'm going live on these videos at all on social media. So this kind of just grows really more organically, and it's with the help of the great people that tune in every morning. So appreciate all y'all. Yeah. All right. We're actually going to start with final 53-man roster thoughts. And listen, we've been hearing a lot of different angles of this. There's only so many guys that can get released or make it. I don't see any drastic surprises, things happening, but there are a few that I am looking forward to seeing what happens with them. All right. So those guys, first, Isaiah Oliver. This is a guy who was a free agent. 49ers went out, got him. It felt like they wanted to make him a big part of what they're doing defensively, at least in the nickel spot. It's like, hey, he's the guy. You have your nickel. He's more of a bigger nickel. All the thoughts on him coming out of OTAs, it sounded like they really liked him. And again, we get to the first preseason game against the Raiders, and all those starters are out except for Isaiah Oliver. I thought that was very interesting from that standpoint. Fast forward to week 2 in the preseason, and you see Diamador Lenore out there starting in the slot. It is not Isaiah Oliver. All right, so I thought that was definitely very, very, very interesting, I guess, to say the least. And it hasn't been great for him. Had some opportunities, missed some tackles, etc. And I'm like, man, it has been a rough go kind of for Isaiah Oliver. Now, he made a play here and there, I want to say in the last game on the ball in the air, but outside that, it's kind of just been a little weird. And I'm interested to see how weird it has been for him. So is this a guy who may be subjected to getting released by the San Francisco 49ers? Something I never thought I would say when this training camp has started. So Isaiah Oliver, that's the first guy I want to know. What the hell is going to happen with him? Secondly, all right, 49ers have some decisions that they need to make at the receiver position. Obviously, they drafted Danny Gray, a year ago now, and didn't get a lot of tickets as a rookie. I'm still struggling to find what is his role? Like, why should you keep Danny Gray around? It can't just be because, he runs fast. Because we've seen other guys be able to win vertically down the field. Ronnie Bell, he's done a good job. He's caught a bomb so far in preseason. Who else? Chris Conley. He's running fast. He's caught a ball down the sideline, diving catch in the last preseason game vertically. But the one thing that those two guys have done over Danny Gray is they've also won in other areas of the field. So again, I ask you, the people in the chat, why should the 49ers keep Danny Gray? Like, what has he done to say, you know what, this is a guy that should be around? If you have to start making tough decisions. Now, he got hurt his shoulder. There's a chance that they might try to stash him on IR. But my thing is, all right, you want to stash him on IR. For what? There are some guys where I'm like, you know what, I see some ability with this guy. Maybe you want to try to stash him on IR. And maybe they, like Taylor Hawkins. I kind of like what I've seen from Taylor Hawkins. I think he's done some things that are very intriguing. Obviously, had a couple big missed tackles in the game against the Chargers. But outside of that, I think from a coverage standpoint, you've seen some things that are really good. And it's like, you know what, I want to continue to, work on these things with this guy. He's transitioning from safety, or from cornerback. He's a safety now. He was a corner at San Diego State. So Taylor Hawkins, I could see the value there. Danny Gray, I am struggling to see the value. I'm struggling to see where he wins outside of one vertical catch against Green Bay a year ago in a preseason game. Does he win in all other areas of the field? I'm seeing that from Ronnie Bell. I'm seeing Ronnie Bell, win vertically. I've seen him win intermediate. I've seen him win at the line of scrimmage with screens. I've seen the physicality after the catch. I've seen the run after catch ability. I've seen his value as a return guy, with a 25-yard kickoff return and then a 28-yard punt return in the same game. With Chris Conley, we've seen him stretch the field late or kind of closer to halftime. With Trey Lance throwing on the ball, he caught, several passes or a couple passes over the middle where you see his value there. But with Danny Gray, I'm struggling to see the value with him and why he should make it. Now, you might say, well, he was drafted 3rd round. He was literally the last pick in the 3rd round. He was damn near a 4th round pick. And a year later, like that value, I don't think they care too much about it. All right. I mean, look, Trey Sermon was a 3rd round pick and the late 3rd round pick. The next year, he was gone. So this isn't me dogging Danny Gray. I don't want to make it seem like I don't like the kid or it's personal. I'm just looking at it from a roster standpoint. I'm curious to see what they do with him. Now, again, I could see them stash him on IR because of the shoulder sprain, but I don't know what the benefits of that is long term. So maybe somebody else can kind of help me. I'm looking in the chat right now, and I hate that it feels like I'm like going in on the kid because it's not personal. I'm just like, why should Danny Gray make it? Like what has he done? Gray needs to get with Conley to improve his run blocking. So on top of the other things, and again, I've talked about Ronnie Bell. There wasn't a whole lot about Ronnie Bell's game that I liked coming out of Michigan, and he has completely changed my mind about everything. So I mean, he's one intermediate. I still think again there's a specific spot that he should play at. It's in the slot. But all the different things that he can do from the slot, I see the value there. Whether it's him as a blocker, run blocker, whether it's him as an intermediate route runner, catching slants over the middle, looking tough, being able to stretch the field vertically. I see all the benefits of having him. I'm struggling to find the benefits of keeping Danny Gray. Now, we could say Conley as well, because I feel like Conley, depending on how long he's going to be out, and again, he kind of hurt himself diving for that catch. It sounds like from the reports of what my co-host Brian Peacock, Locked On 49ers, let's go, Locked On 49ers. Peacock said it's more like day-to-day. So I think he should be fine in the next week or so. Does Chris Conley make it? Now, he's a veteran, and if he's makes your initial 53-man roster, his contract is guaranteed for the whole year. So maybe they let him go and just try to bring him back. And maybe they look at it like, you know what, between Conley and Snead, if we just get one of y'all back, we'll take that because they both done really good things throughout camp. But overall, man, I mean, Danny Gray feels like the odd man out. All right. So that's one guy. That's another guy that I want to kind of touch on as well. So again, I said there are 3 names I wrote down for final 53-man roster spots. Most of it, I don't really care. But again, Isaiah Oliver, what happens with him? Does he just stick around because, well, we gave him a couple $1 million guaranteed? Danny Gray, does he stick around because, well, he was a late 3rd round draft pick last year, even though I see other guys just have way more value and they've been way more consistent than anything that we've gotten out of Danny Gray so far or what we've seen. All right. And then Chris Conley. What happens with him? Do they try to put him on IR? Does he start off on the PUP list? He did sprain his shoulder. But I feel like, again, it sounds like it's day to day, and I see the value in him as a guy. So if it were up to me as far as the receiver position goes, like who would just outright make the team, even if everybody, let's say everybody's healthy, it would be Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, Jawan Jennings, Ray McLeod, Ronnie Bell, Chris Conley. Like that would be my 6 right there. It wouldn't even, I don't even really have to think too much more about it. Now, let's say that, Ray McLeod, he's starting off on some list. Then I would just keep the other 5 that I just mentioned. Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, Ronnie Bell, hold on, and Jawan Jennings, right? That's 5. Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, Jawan Jennings, Ronnie Bell, and Chris Conley. My bad, and Chris Conley. So then those would be the 5 I keep. All right, and then whenever Ray McLeod comes back, all right, I got 6 receivers. And then obviously you want to have a guy on practice squad. Maybe it's Isaiah Winstead. And I think he's done solid. And I think there's potentially a role for him. So, yeah. Those are kind of just my 53-man roster spots. I know everybody wants to dive into like a lot more intricacies of it. I will be live on Bleacher Report today. I want to say at 4 Eastern. So make sure y'all, I think if you follow me on Bleacher Report, so I have like a profile on there. I think you can follow me. And I bet, I'm just guessing, whenever I go live with them, which will be several times throughout this year, I think it's like 11 times in the month of September that I'm live with Bleacher Report. All right, a lot of times before and after games. And that's going to stop me from going to games too, because I'd rather be on Bleacher Report, go live, kind of continue to kind of build that brand, with myself and everything, than actually like go to the game. Watch the game here on my TV. All right, so I'll probably get a little deeper, into the, just the actual roster and everything that's going on. But right now, I only have 3 names that I had in mind. Like, what happens with these 3 guys? Isaiah Oliver, Chris Conley, Danny Gray. And if it were up to me, Danny Gray might be ugly. How does IR work? How many players can be on IR and brought back during the season? So, and I think I see the chat maybe helped you out with this. Part of IR is if you want to be able to come back, you have to make the initial roster. So let's say Danny Gray, you want him to come back at some point during the year. Then he has to make the 53-man roster now. And then after that, you place him on IR, and then that will open up a roster spot for someone. And then whenever he's healthy, he can come back. If he starts off on IR now, he's done for the year. I see in the chat right now, Mike Shields says, I saw Peacock was a fan of Quantrez Knight. I need to like go back, and maybe I'll do it after the show. Like go back and like watch Quantrez Knight. I have the games on the TV. I don't have the All 22. I don't know how everybody else got it, but I need to start tapping in. All right. We're getting into it. Got 130 y'all in here right now. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff. Again, this show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code Crocky. And Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is on Sports Illustrated or SI, or whatever it's called. And got to take a little shot at the 49ers, a little dig. So are the 49ers a little dysfunctional? There are a lot of fans that are mad. Look, you can feel a little weird at how like they've handled situations, but ultimately they might be weird with the quarterback position. I feel like everything else they do exceptionally well. All right, so let's take a listen to one Jimmy Garoppolo.
Make of the Trey Lance trade to Dallas.
Weird situation. Been a lot of weird situations over there in San Francisco. Just to leave it at that. But I'm happy Trey got another shot, man.
How do you think San Francisco's handled those quarterback situations?
How do you think they've handled them?
I think it's been messy. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
All right, so Jimmy Garoppolo, I feel like he's like the man of few words. His teammates, they barely can reach him. He doesn't respond to text messages, phone calls. I feel like you barely hear him out in the media. Every once in a while, you might hear a Jimmy Garoppolo soundbite. But hearing him talk about this, and I was just like, good job, Jimmy. I feel like not that he doesn't stick up for himself, right? He don't need anybody to stick up for him. He's doing very well financially. But again, I always talk about it because people bring up Like, don't feel bad for these players. Like, they make a lot of money, etc. And it's like anything else, right? Anything else, like with a job, the money it just comes with it. All right, like the money comes with like, okay, I do this job, I do it, very well. I get paid good money. That doesn't remove the human element of anything going on. Like people think that because these guys make money, they're just like immune to anything that might be hurtful or something like that. And it's like, nah, like Jimmy probably hears it. Maybe he cares, maybe he doesn't care. But if he doesn't care, it's not going to be because of the money. All right. So listening to him there, and it's like, good job, because you don't hear him stick up for himself much. And again, he might not need to stick up for himself, and he might not care. But the amount of shots that have been aimed at him over the last few years, I think he has handled it very well. But when you hear him say this and he starts to kind of like take a dig at the 49ers situation, I'm like, look at Jimmy. Look at Jimmy. All right. And I see 559 fishing in the chat. He says he's speaking facts respectfully. And he is. It has been, and again, we're getting to the like Brock Purdy, he is the guy. So that's very clear, right? And that's the era of the San Francisco 49ers that we are in right now. It is the Brock Purdy era. But the way that we've gotten to the Brock Purdy era has been very unorthodox. Not something that we've seen a lot from, I would say, any other scenario. Like, can y'all think right now a scenario where it has quite like played out like the 49ers situation has, just in the way that it has? Like, I've never seen anything like it, from the keeping Jimmy Garoppolo around and just say, oh, well, he's just gonna play this year, but then he's like good. Like they feel like Jimmy was good. Okay. Kyle Shanahan, those guys, and maybe some of it had to do with his play. I'm not sure. But I do think that there's a scenario where they did like him. And he did win a lot of games, win healthy. And maybe that's the key there. All right, win healthy. But Jimmy, not saying he was the reason you were winning a lot of games, but definitely he contributed to a lot of wins and a lot of good moments. And that's just rare in the NFL. Like a quarterback just consistently, when I play, we win games. Whether he's the reason or not, but when I play, we win games. Like that's very clear when it comes, as it pertains to Jimmy Garoppolo and his time with the San Francisco 49ers. But it's like, we do this, you guys like me, but then you trade 3 first-round picks up to get this guy, and then you tell me, hey, don't worry about the guy we just spent 3 first-round picks on. You're still our guy, Jimmy. And he's probably like, okay, this is hella weird. I'm a good quarterback, but you spend all this money to bring this other guy in to replace me. And then you're like, don't worry about him. Just go out and just win games for us. And then we'll just get rid of you next year. Like that alone right there is odd. A lot of times and I've kind of thrown out some other situations, and most of them aren't really like necessarily like trade ups, but gosh, I'm trying to think of a name off the top of my head. Ben Roethlisberger. Who was the quarterback when they drafted Big Ben, the Steelers? Was it Tommy Maddox or something like that? It was like, well, Maddox isn't the long-term answer. So Big Ben came in, played well, and boom, Maddox, he's gone, right? Like that's typically how it goes. Carson Palmer, right? John Kitna was the starting quarterback, and they're like, all right, John Kitna, he's taking all the snaps, like he's going to be the guy. Was not the long-term answer. Eli Manning, when he took over, it was Kurt Warner at the time, and it was like Kurt Warner, end of his career, we thought. I think he went to Arizona after that and played very well. But anyways, end of his career is like Eli, it's about to be your team. Don't worry about it. All right. So typically it's we are replacing this guy because we want to replace him, because it's either like he's just no way, shape, or form a long-term answer. I think Jimmy Garoppolo was a lot closer to a long-term answer for the 49ers than some of those guys. And it was very weird with just kind of how they handled the situation. And then to bring him back, like, that's weird. So when Jimmy Garoppolo says it's like, man, it is weird. It's like, yeah, Jimmy, you've won a lot of games for us, but and you've done well, but now we're going to like, hey, Trey Lance, he's our guy, but can you come back and be a backup even though you've won like 75% of the games with us? Like, what? I'll tell you, the whole Jimmy Garoppolo situation has been weird. So then he gets hurt. Trey gets hurt, everybody gets hurt, and then Brock Purdy comes, and then it's like, okay, he's the guy, and then Jimmy is like, all right, well, thanks, Jimmy, but wait, Jimmy, before you leave, we are upset you didn't come back for the playoff game, but all right, bye, Jimmy, right? And so now Jimmy, when he's talking again, and he's taking a dig at the 49ers, we just listened to the soundbite. It's a little strange. So now Jimmy's like, cool, I'm out of that situation. I don't have to deal with that, even though Raider fans are like, is Aiden O'Connell better than Jimmy Garoppolo? All right, but that's a different story for another day. All right, but Jimmy's now he's on the back end looking from Las Vegas at what's going on in the Bay. He's like, there's a lot of weird stuff going on there. And they asked him about the Trey Lance thing. He's like, man, I'm happy Trey Lance gets an opportunity somewhere else. Right. And I feel like Jimmy's like a man of few words. But he's like, man, cool, But it's a weird ass situation with the way they've handled everything. And I don't want to go too deep into it, but it's very weird. And I see in the chat right here, Kurt out. Is it Kurt or Kirk? Kirk Cousins. It's Kirk, right? Kirk, you kind of threw me off with the Kirk. Kirk, ouch, my ribs, Cousins. And his ribs were hurting if you watched Quarterback. Great show. Loved it on Netflix. All right, but raise your hand if you would be surprised if Kirk Cousins was a starting quarterback for the 49ers week 1 in 2024. Raise your hand if you'd be surprised. I'm not raising my hand. All right. I would not be surprised at all. And it would just add to the weirdness that's been surrounding this organization. It is weird. And you know how you know it's weird? Because the fan base is completely divided on how they see it, how they view it, who the quarterback is, who it should be, how this situation was handled. I see the chat every day. I come on here and I talk with y'all every day. And y'all are so split. And someone from the Dallas Cowboys asked me about Trey Lance yesterday, a content creator from them. And he was like, hey, man, like, what's up with Trey Lance? Like, what are we getting here? And I was like, you know what, man? You can ask 5 different people and you might get 5 different answers. And that's real, right? Like, you just on the way they handled it, how it went, how it should play out, the way it played out. Like, you can ask 5 different people and you'll get 5 different responses. And then based on those 5 different responses, the person that agrees with the one of the 5, they'll push that agenda and like want you to hear about that version of it. It is weird, but I will say this: never seen anything like it. May never see anything like it again. We got Gammon in the chat. He says, "Wouldn't be surprised if Sam is the next year's QB1." Sam Darnold. That's it. When he said Sam, I didn't even know. Hey, but you know what, Gammon, I would not be surprised either, because nothing this organization front office has done at the quarterback position surprises me anymore. Everything else, and we're going to talk about the 5 most impactful 49ers that are out there right there. All right. But nothing that they've done, nothing that they can do now will surprise me. I'm trying to think of what would surprise me at the quarterback position. If you told me right now, hey, Croc, Sam Darnold's going to be QB1 to start 2024, wouldn't be surprised. Hey, Croc, Kirk Cousins is going to be QB1 to start 2024. I would not be surprised. Hey, Croc, Brock Purdy's going to be QB1. I think Brock Purdy being QB1 because of how it's going from year to year, that actually might be the more surprising scenario. That is just like a normal scenario, right? Like just normal. Brock Purdy plays this whole year. He starts the whole year. And then week 1 next year, like he's your starting quarterback and there's no quarterback controversy in the offseason. That is the normal way that things typically play out. But that has not been the 49ers normal. So the normal thing for them would be Sam Darnold's probably your QB1. And it wouldn't be at all surprising or shocking to me. Would not at all. Would not at all. Just wild. But again, if you haven't listened, okay, I'll play it one more time. Here's Jimmy Garoppolo.
Make of the Trey Lance trade to Dallas.
Weird situation. been a lot of weird situations over there in San Francisco. Just to leave it at that. But I'm happy Trey got another shot, man.
How do you think San Francisco's handled those quarterback situations?
How do you think they've handled them?
I think it's been messy. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
Brett said that's a nice way to put it. He said, man, I feel like it's been messy. He said, yeah, that's a nice way to put it. Like, damn, that's a dig. And the crazy thing about all of that Jimmy Garoppolo just said, he is not at all wrong. He is not at all wrong. He is not wrong. All right, but that was fun to hear from Jimmy Garoppolo and kind of take a dig at the 49ers. And hopefully they get some normalcy soon. And the normalcy would be Brock Purdy just started week 1 this year. Brock Purdy just started week 1 next year. All right. That would be normal. That has not been the San Francisco 49ers normal. All right, moving along. Last topic that I want to touch on, then I'll bring y'all on for a few minutes. But the most impactful 49ers this year. This is a team that clearly has very high expectations. They expect to win. The roster is loaded. The roster is ready to go. I think, right? You know, from year to year, things can typically change. We haven't seen it change too much for the 49ers. Like good players win a lot of games. All right. As long as they decently healthy. All right. So at number 5, and I will say this was a little bit more difficult than I was expecting. And I had to think about why is this guy more impactful? Because that's what I put, like, impactful. Why is this guy more impactful than the next guy, right? Like, why did Brandon Ayuk not make this top 5 list? Well, first of all, 49ers have a lot of good football players. But why did Brandon Ayuk not make it? Why did Deebo Samuel not make it? And I think those guys are very impactful players. And I think especially Deebo Samuel, I think they typically would be on any kind of list like this. But as far as being impactful for the San Francisco 49ers this year, they did not make my top 5 list. All right. And I'm looking at the chat right now. There is no kicker on the list. You know, another guy who probably should have made this impactful list for me is probably Sam Darnold. And I'm seeing his name kind of floating around in the chat a little bit right now. Not as it pertains to being impactful for the Niners, but just whatever y'all talking about. But the backup quarterback is probably more impactful than the starting quarterback for the 49ers because that guy typically has to play. And if he's not good, it derails your entire season. We've seen a lot of that. All right. But here we go. Most impactful 49ers, top 5 list. Eric Crocker. I would love to get y'all list. And when I bring y'all on, y'all can talk about that as well. Matter of fact, I'll put that link in the chat right now. Here we go. All right. So here we go. Let's get it going. At number 5, I should have some graphics. Why do I not have graphics for this? Why do I not have? Listen, I told myself when I moved back to Stockton, I was going to up my production, the value of it and everything, because this is all I do now. I just podcast. Okay. But at number 5, you know what? Maybe I'll have y'all guess who's where, whatever. But at number 5, Bobby has it right. Trent. All right. I got Trent Williams at number 5. He is my number 5 guy as far as importance. Obviously, protecting the blind side of this quarterback is, I mean, that's an immense job. Like, we understand the value of that. I actually felt like he could be much higher, but we also have seen him kind of miss games. 49ers still win. The 49ers be able to kind of like scheme around, not being great on the rest of the offensive line. So I understand his importance, but I feel like the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan's ability to kind of scheme around it offsets a little of exactly how important. Now, if you're asking me, Croc, who's the 49ers' best player? I would probably say, man, Trent Williams might be like just the overall best player between him and Nick Bosa. But as far as importance to the 49ers, I have him right there at 5. And I talked about Deebo Samuel not making it, and I think that Deebo is super impactful as well. 49ers played some games without Deebo last year and continued their win streak, and I don't even think they thought about the fact that he just wasn't out there. All right, at least that's not what it looked like. So Trent Williams, he comes in at number 5. All right, at number 4, most impactful 49ers. Got it right here. Here we go. Fred Warner. All right. Fred Warner to me is right there at 4. His job as the quarterback of the defense, the guy kind of manning the middle, having to be on the same page with the guys behind him in coverage, having to be on the same page as the guys in front of him, having to play in sync with the guys underneath. But again, being that quarterback, bringing that energy, bringing that passion, I think he sets the tone. He's the tone center between him and Dre Greenlaw. But I think it starts with Fred Warner, filters off to Dre Greenlaw, and just how they play, his responsibilities that he has for the 49ers, all right? Not just as the quarterback of the defense, but in coverage, in the run game, sideline to sideline, all right? I just think his importance is just too big to the 49ers, all right? So I have Fred Warner at number 4. I'm trying to think. I knew I was going to have him on this list. I kind of questioned, like, man, is he going to make it? But, between him, again, it was like you had Deebo Samuel in there. It started to get a little tricky, but no Deebo Samuel again that made this list. Fred Warner, he is at number 4. At number 3. At number 3. Where do y'all think I went with this? 49ers got some really good players. They got some really good players. All right. But at number 3, Brandon Ayuk. No, it is not Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk did not make the list. Brandon Ayuk did not make the list. 49ers got some really good football players. And I feel like just their ability to work with all the other guys makes it to where a Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk is like they don't have to make this list. But it is Nick Bosa. I understand how important it is to have him signed. I'm trying to figure out how it's going to look. Let's say week 1, if he's not out there, what would it look like? I think he's extremely important to the defense. All right. And he's the last defender that I have here. So obviously Nick Bosa is arguably, I talked about Trent Williams maybe being the best 49er. I think obviously Nick Bosa, he might have something to say about that. I think Bosa is probably 49ers best player, but in the sense of importance, right? Like on a just wins, you know what? I might have undersold him a little bit because Brian Peacock brings this up sometimes. Everybody talks about Jimmy Garoppolo as it pertains to wins with the 49ers. Nick Bosa, when he's on the field, all the 49ers do is win as well. Like all they do is win. So I don't know how to like quantify like how important it is that is like he's actually on the field. But when I looked at the other 2 guys, I just feel like I had to kind of have them over Nick Bosa. Again, best player on the 49ers, I would say that. But importance to just like wins and losses in this season. Like, let's say if Nick Bosa is not here for the entire season, or if he misses a stretch, is that more impactful than these next 2 guys? All right. Like, that's how I had to look at it. So if you don't have these next 2 guys I'm going to mention, who makes the bigger impact in the sense of wins and losses? And the next guy is definitely CMC, Christian McCaffrey. All right. I think we saw the 49ers efficiency go through the roof when Christian McCaffrey came. And I think there's an argument that can be made that Christian McCaffrey is the most impactful player for the 49ers, right? When you look at just the points that went up, and everybody points to Brock Purdy coming in, and obviously he did a terrific job as well. But even then, they started to cook outside of that Saints game. They started to cook offensively when CMC started to come in here, and just what he did to this team, how he allowed them to be efficient. It was like, they dropped back. And I remember when Calvin Johnson was playing, right? When Calvin Johnson was in his prime, and the quarterback, Matthew Stafford, he'd drop back and just be like, F it. I know Calvin Johnson's down there somewhere. And he just throw it to Calvin Johnson. I feel like that's the 49ers quarterbacks last year with Christian McCaffrey, whether he's being impactful in the run game or in the passing game, and everything that he did to make this offense even more efficient and dynamic. It's weird, I would say, to have him over Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Trent Williams, especially as it pertains to being a running back, which everybody says running backs, they don't matter. But it definitely matters with the 49ers because Christian McCaffrey, terrific. I mean, he's been more impactful than I ever could have imagined. I think we knew when you got him, it's like, oh, well, he helps in the run game. He helps in the pass game. Like, we knew that, but just seeing like how it actually played out, I'm like, damn. He's impactful. He's impactful. So that's the number 2 guy as far as most impactful goes. It is Christian McCaffrey. So I think we know where we're going with number one, right? The most impactful player on the San Francisco 49ers. And I think that there shouldn't really be an argument here. Again, I said you could potentially flip-flop number two and number one because number two helps out number one so much, but it's definitely Trey Lance. No, I'm joking. It's just funny that he had Lance's name in there. All right, but Brock Purdy, man. Brock Purdy is the most impactful player. Again, I think there's a scenario where you flip-flop Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy. Because let's say if you don't have Brock Purdy in there and you have Sam Darnold, but Sam Darnold playing with Christian McCaffrey, how much better, how much does this team lose by having Sam Darnold in there, but you have Christian McCaffrey who you can rely on, right? So, Christian, again, I'm talking through this with myself right now, where it's like, man, is CMC the most impactful player on the 49ers? But it has to be Brock Purdy. I mean, he's the quarterback position. So when you look at the quarterback position and what Brock Purdy brings, one, last year, and again, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm pretty sure Terradome, who's about to come on, would definitely let me know. But how efficient he was throughout the year, the points that the 49ers scored with him. Again, I know some of it had to do with defense, setting up good field position, etc. But he added this dynamic ability at the quarterback position to the 49ers, being able to move around, be a playmaker. He has a level of efficiency in the passing game. I've talked about him needing Christian McCaffrey. You know what, though? I just watched a preseason game, albeit preseason. There was no Joey Bosa in there or whatever, but I saw him just move the ball, 2 drives. Matter of fact, shoot 3 drives inside the 10. All right. So he understands, how to facilitate the ball, how to hit the open guy, where the open guy is going to be. I watched a full breakdown with him on it was JT O'Sullivan's QB school, and he talked about his strengths, and he's like, man, he sees the field well in that short range. He understands where to go. He gets the ball out of his hands. He plays quick, and he's efficient there, right? Like, we understand what his strengths are. So on top of hitting those short routes, he does a good job of being able to make plays with his legs. We saw that in the preseason game against the Chargers. But overall, I think, he's on this team. I think everybody feels a little bit more comfortable about that. So very important. I don't want to see what the 49ers look like without Brock Purdy playing quarterback this year. I say that, but I would like to see Sam Darnold in the offense. Like, what does it look like with all the guys? But either way, definitely your number one most important guy. So again, I'll go back through the list. We got number 5, Trent Williams. Number 4, Fred Warner. Number 3, Nick Bosa. Number 2, Christian McCaffrey. Number 1, Brock Purdy. And I also talked about how Christian McCaffrey, you could make the case that he is overall the most important player on the team, but most impactful, definitely Brock Purdy. All right, appreciate everybody that's tuned into the show. Make sure y'all
Like and subscribe this video.
We got a super chat here from Gavin. He says, wouldn't be surprised if Sam is next year's QB1. I think we spoke about that. All right. Hey, that goes against what we're saying about Brock Purdy being the most impactful player. All right. So we're going to go back to our shot clock. Do y'all mind do y'all want the or should we look at something else? Should we go a different route with it? All right. And I see no George Kittle. George Kittle got snubbed. I'm sorry. Again, it's tough. 49ers have a lot of good football players. So I get it that George Kittle, he didn't make it. But I would say George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, like their level of importance to the 49ers winning is probably like very similar. And Deebo ain't make it either. He got snubbed, man. He got snubbed. All right. So we got a different noise. Okay, let's see. We got maybe that could be the your time is up, or we could do the heartbeat, and the heartbeat means you have 30 more seconds. So kind of like wrap your take up. Maybe we'll do that. All right. So when you guys hear the heartbeat, that means you got 30 more seconds for your take. All right. So here we go. Got to go to my handy dandy shot clock. 2 minutes is already teed up. First up, we got my guy, Terradome.
What's up, Croc? What's up, man? You got heartbeats and thank you for the applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the applause. Coming to the stage right now, Amber. Man, you had an impressive list, my brother, and I think I'm mirroring it. I don't want to take up anybody's time, man. I just came off of my show, and I said I'm jumping on with my man Croc.
Let's go.
I got honorable mention. I gotta shout Debo out at number 6. Honorable mention. He's a captain. He's a playoff stud. He's my dude. We love you, Debo. I don't mean no disrespect or nothing. I got at 5. At 5, I got Nick Bosa. Bosa. All right. I got him at 5. Then I'm coming in at 4 at Trent Williams because he's a protector and a leader when we bring him on out. At 3, I got CMC. We were a new team with a new attitude. We were like Patti LaBelle with the big hair, kicking her shoes off when CMC came. At 2, I got the captain, Kurt Warner. When he went down in Philadelphia, that second play of the game, I believe, man, my heart just started choking. I knew things were foreboding after that. And then
Fred Warner, right? Because I think you said Kurt Warner, but Fred Warner, right?
Fred Warner. That's it, Fred Warner. Fred, the chairman Warner. And then at number 1, I got Brock Richard Purdy because, it's the most important position. He distributes like a point guard on grass, and he gets it to who we needed to get to. That's how I see it.
All right. Man, I like the list. Dang, I had a question on one of those guys.
It's like Trent at 4.
What went to Nick Bosa being so low for you?
Because he didn't have any sacks during the postseason, yet and still we put up 41 and we put up 19 versus the Cowboys and won.
All right. Good stuff, Terradome. I'm gonna get to the next caller, man. Thanks for coming on. And let everybody know where they can find your show, by the way.
Terradome, Tuesdays, Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. That's 7 a.m. to you civilians on the West Coast.
All right, nice
stuff. Chopping it up. All right.
I appreciate you. Make sure you maybe you could throw it in the chat or something like that.
I'll put it in the chat so y'all can come and check your boy out. I got the fly residency on that, Jane. I need that lock don't look fly, man. Your boy hooked you up?
Yeah, man.
And then he gave you the hood, the pin on it too?
Yeah, it came with the pin and everything.
That's dope, man. You get to see stars always get the gifts, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, thanks, Terradome.
Peace.
All right, here we go. Next up, we have case 49.
Yo, Clocky, what's going on with you, man?
Oh man, I'm good. What's your for top 5 most impactful 49er list looking like?
Yeah, I'm gonna get to the top 5 real quick though. I just wanted to give you credit, man, and shout you out, man, because you try to tell me the whole offseason that Kyle Shanahan was lying to me and you know what I'm saying, and the whole thing about Trey Lance getting the opportunity to compete and everything like that. I just want to give you your props. You was right. I was wrong. You know what I mean? Like I trusted Kyle to do the right thing and he did not, so just want to give you your props on that. You know what I mean? Like my whole thing with Kyle Shanahan is that, I trusted him. You know what I mean? I trusted he would do the right thing with these 3 first-round picks that, he invested and, and he gave them away for a 4th rounder. We never actually got to see Trey play bad. So that's why we're really upset because it's like, you say that Sam Darnold is better, but we didn't see it. Nobody saw that. And it's like, we don't believe in Sam Darnold. I think Kyle knew that Trey was gone. My bad for talking about this. I just didn't get the chance.
No, you good. I even paused you to let you get that off. I even paused your
I appreciate
your
it.
time.
I'm gonna get to the top 5 real quick though. But yeah, man, it was like, he was out on Trey Lance the day that, Brock Purdy did what he did. At that point, they had 2 rookie quarterbacks who could play. One was cheaper, so Trey Lance was on the out. He was saying that they needed to trade Trey a long time ago. I was like, nah, they don't need to trade him because,
I did say that. I did say that. Yeah.
You was right, man. You was right. I was wrong for trusting Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. I was completely wrong. But anyway, my top 5. I'm gonna go with number 5. I'm gonna go with Trent Williams, left tackle. Left tackle, one of the most important positions in football. He's a great one, but I put him at number 5 is because we had Joe Staley before him, and we still wasn't winning it all, even with Joe Staley. So, but he is very important. Number 4, I'm gonna say Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa changed our whole trajectory when he came in. He took us from being a decent team or a good team to a Super Bowl contender. So Nick Bosa is number 4. Number 3, I'm going to go with CMC. CMC, he definitely unlocked the offense. Like CMC alone without Debo wouldn't be as impactful. But when you combine Debo and CMC, they open each other up. And, they play very well off of each other. So it's like
who helps who more?
Huh?
Who helps who more?
CMC. I would probably say CMC, to be honest with you. I think Debo is a more dynamic open field runner than CMC, but I think that CMC is a better pass catcher, especially down the field. And then number 2, I'm going to go with Brock Purdy, because he's the quarterback. And, he's the only one that we've seen that we can win games. Only quarterback in the room that we have right now that we've seen we can win games with. So without Brock Purdy, I really don't believe in Sam Darnold. And that's another reason why people are upset with Kyle, because he's trying to sell us on Sam Darnold and being able to win the Super Bowl. Yeah, you may be able to win games, but if Brock goes out, our Super Bowl hopes are gone, because Sam Darnold, we already know he's a proven bust. So why are you trying to sell us that he beat out Trey Lance? I don't believe that. And a lot of people don't believe that. So, but number 1, I'm going to go with Fred Warner. Fred Warner is the most impactful player on the team to me. He's like the leader of the defense. He's the leader of the whole team, to be honest. Like, who has more leadership qualities on this team right now than Fred Warner?
Hey, man, Fred Warner, they sent him up when Trey Lance missed practice. And it was like, he's the first person that you see have to speak on it.
You know why? Because he's the defensive coordinator right now. Fred Warner is the DC. Steve Wilkes is the DB coach, and Kasarik is the line, and Fred Warner is the DC. That's why they sent him out there. But, he has a lot of responsibility. I think, he never misses time. He's the most impactful player on this game, on the team right now. Everything that the whole personality and persona of the team, Fred Warner embodies like no other person on this team right now. The physicality, the determination, the high pedigree, the leadership. Fred Warner is the most impactful on this team. You take him off, I don't really know what we got, to be honest with you. So that's that.
All right. Just to let you know real quick before I get you out of here, Kai Zen says you smoking, bro.
Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah, I might be. You know what I mean? And what you doing? You know what I'm saying?
All right, Jason. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, if you're gonna make a point, make a point. But don't just throw shots behind the keyboard, fam. And I ain't with all that. But I appreciate you having me on, man.
All right, thanks for coming on, man. All right, here we go. Next up, we have long-time listener, long-time caller, my main guy, Medic Mike. Medic Mike, how you doing?
What's up, Croc? How you doing, man?
Oh, man, just chilling.
All right, I'm going to go a little bit different route. I'm going to give you your top 5 impactful, but I'm going to do it specifically for this year and for a specific reason.
All right, let's hear it.
So number 5, I got Ambry Thomas. And the reason I have Ambry Thomas is because we've seen what it looks like when we can lock down one side of the field and the other side continuously gets targeted. And I think contingent upon Thomas's consistent play, I think it moves us from around number 8, number 9 passing defense to a top 3 passing defense. And that's why I think his consistent play will be very impactful, top 5 impact on our team.
Gotcha. And that's what I'm looking for too. I like that. Go ahead.
Number 4, I got Trent Williams. Trent Williams is Trent Williams. I think he's the best player on the team. He solidifies that entire line. The's not much more to say about Trent Williams. You know, it is what it is there. At number 3, I got CMC. CMC, just like you mentioned earlier, as soon as we got CMC and traded for him, it unlocked our whole offense. And I don't know if you remember last year, you had a show where you asked if the trade was worth it, giving up all them picks. And I came on here and I said I would give up all them picks, forget them picks. Yes, I loved it. I love it. And he has proven he is worth every single pick so far. Number 2, I got Bosa. And this also touches on number 5 with Thomas, because what's the best way to hide a deficient secondary? It is a monster pass rush. That is the best way you can hide any weakness in your secondary. And him being the best pass rusher in the NFL, if he's out there, if number 5 isn't as consistent as we'd hope, that's at least going to hide some of that deficiency so it's not as glaring. And then number 1, in line with you with Brock Purdy, he's our quarterback. As long as he keeps doing what he does, and hopefully he's able to even progress and grow even more. But if he plays within the system, as he did last year, as he's shown in the preseason, makes the reads Kyle wants him to make, I think we're going to go really far. So a little bit different than most people's takes, but that's my top 5 most impactful for this season.
I love the Ambry Thomas take. Love it. And that's something, again, because when we're talking about impact, having an impact doesn't mean that you're necessarily the best player or 5 most, important players to your team just overall. But as far as having an impact and what Ambry Thomas can bring to this team, in the sense of like adding some stability or him just being good, right? That is big time. So, yeah, man, I like that. I like that take.
I appreciate you having me on, Croc.
All right. Thanks, Medic Mike. All right, good stuff there. Really like that. Really like the Ambry Thomas take. All right, here we go. Coming up next. All right, another one. Long-time listener, everyday caller, my main man, Gammon Brown.
So I just want to start off with everybody, if you're still blessed and lucky enough to have a mom and dad, make sure that you give them a call, say what's up. My wife lost her dad, and so that just is that's just a really painful thing to kind of watch her go through. But without further ado,
I lost my dad. Matter of fact, when I was with the Jets, 2013, and it was really weird because it was like for a while. It took a while. Football wasn't important to me anymore, and clearly, I come on here, I talk all the time. My passion, my love for football, 49ers, just talking football, sports, talking with y'all is like, that takes priority over damn near everything, but just like my intermediate family. But when I lost my dad, it was like football wasn't important. Being on the Jets wasn't important. Like, I didn't care. I didn't even realize I was lost, which is the crazy part. I didn't even realize it. And I didn't even wake up. It was almost like I was sleepwalking. And it wasn't until there was an Arena League draft. I ended up getting released from the Jets, and there was a draft, and I was taken number 1 overall in the Arena League draft. And that's when it was like, I snapped out of it. It was really weird how it happened. But when I snapped out of it, that was when I realized, like, what have I been doing? So it is hard. I feel like a lot of people say time heals all wounds. The wound of losing my father, it's still an open wound. It never heals. It's been 10 years now, and it feels like it was yesterday. So I don't have any helping words for your wife from that standpoint, but just be there for her in times where she might feel weak. But I appreciate you coming on saying that.
Absolutely. Salute. I kind of had a similar thing, kind of what Medic Mike was doing, but I have an all honorable mention team. It's kind of similar to when I asked you that one question, who's the MVP on offense, but then who's like the underdog, the most valuable person that we're not really considering on offense. And I did the same thing on defense. So with this one, I started off with Brian Schneider, our special teams coach, because right now for week 1, he's got a hell of a game plan to put together for, kick returner, punt returner, kickoffs, place kicking, all that stuff. Number 2, I put our outside edges. Let's assume that Nick Bosa isn't ready to play week 1. Well, now we're talking about a heavy dose of Clelin Ferrell and Drake Jackson. Number 3, I put swing tackle. If I were to ask you, Croc, over under Trent Williams plays 15 games. What would you be over? Or would you be under that?
Under.
But yeah, maybe just barely.
Yeah,
but,
like 14. Like,
yeah, 14.
Yeah.
Right, and we don't know what Colton McKivitz is going to be, or what could happen there. So there was a period in time, one season, where Jimmy Garoppolo played multiple games without our starting left and right tackle. So that is a kind of a big concern of mine. Number 4 I have is everyone's favorite band, Nickelback, because when you kind of look at who we have to play this season against, right? Like Cooper Kupp is going to be a slot wide receiver, Juju Smith-Schuster. So just all these kinds of dynamic slot wide receivers. And it's like what you talked about, Croc. It's really hard to be a good slot or nickel cornerback because those wide receivers that you're playing against have so much more room, and you can't just jam them off the line like you can on the edges. And then for my last one, I put Juice and Charlie Warner. I think people really forget, even though these guys don't make a lot of like catches, but I think just their blocking, when they do well or when they don't do well, it's significantly noticeable in the pass and the run game. That was all that I had. Oh, and last question I had for you. With everything that's been going on this season, you said week 1 you expected the 49ers to beat the Steelers. Has that changed at all?
Actually, I've always picked the Steelers to beat the 49ers.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah. Now, again, when I say I expect the team to beat the 49ers, it's really just that was okay. Hold on. Let me gather my thoughts on this. When the schedule release came out, Bleacher Report had me on, and I had to do like a prediction, right? So I had to go through each game and pick a win and loss. And I think I had the 49ers at like 12-5, right? So obviously I think the 49ers would be damn good. But I just looked at it like, you know what? The Pittsburgh Steelers, their quarterback situation has been a little weird, but they are going to fight. They are capable of being a really good team. I remember last year, week 1, even with all the issues they had kind of going on at the quarterback situation throughout the season, they were able to beat the Cincinnati Bengals, right? A team that's good. I mean, they were in the AFC Championship game. And I just look at them and I continue to see a team that, because of who their head coach is, and you're talking about having to go to Pittsburgh, and we're talking about week 1 of the season where sometimes weird things happen, that is going to be a very, very tough game in those elements. And now I feel a little even stronger. Again, I'm not saying, 49ers, they're just going to lose, right? Like 49ers are a good team. Like they hell yeah, they can win. But now it's like the step that the Pittsburgh Steelers potentially need to take to become a better football team, be better offensively and stuff like that, they are taking those steps. Now, will that show week 1? We'll see. 49ers have a good defense. We'll see. But, preseason, I get it. But 5 possessions for the Kenny Pickett-led offense, 5 touchdowns. So at the very least, and everything coming out of the training camp was, man, Kenny Pickett looks good. Kenny Pickett looks good. And then you watch him play, and it's like, Kenny Pickett looks good, and you see a touchdown every drive. He's clearly heading in the right direction. And now, if he's good, if he's a solid quarterback, if he's a legit starting quarterback, because last year he wasn't that. He had to go through his lumps and everything like that. But this year, if he's a legit starting quarterback in the NFL, and then you look at what the playmakers that they have defensively with TJ Watt and Minka Fitzpatrick and even the other guys there, double-digit sack guys, that is going to be an extremely difficult team to beat week 1 on the road, 10 a.m. start West Coast with, the terrible towels going and everything like that, with Mike Tomlin coaching, who does not coach bad teams. So I just looked at it like that. That's a tough matchup for the 49ers. I expect 49ers to beat the Rams the next week. I expect them to beat the Giants after that. I expect the 49ers to continue to win games. But that week 1 was the more difficult game to start with for the 49ers and on the road. 49ers at home, oh yeah, W. But you have to go to Pittsburgh. Again, 10 a.m. start West Coast time. Is Nick Bosa going to be there? Is he going to be on the snap count? How important or impactful will he be in that game? TJ Watt, like, it's Colton McKivitz. We talked about importance of these players, and Trent Williams. McKivitz might even be more impactful or important than Trent Williams. Like, can he protect the 49ers quarterback when TJ Watt, who all he does is make hella plays. One year he knocked the ball out of quarterback's hands 8 times. Like, it's like that's going to be a tough matchup. So I'm curious to see just what it looks like. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in the building. It's going to be an exciting game, but a tough start to the season for the 49ers playing against them. Hopefully 49ers win.
If we lose week 1, Croc, you can't go any more week 1 games. I'm just saying.
I'm trying to think. How about going to a week 1 game? Oh, I did last year. 49ers lost to Chicago.
Yeah.
That game was, bro, it was wild. It was brutal. The weather was brutal. Walking to the stadium, feeling like it felt like walking to the stadium. It felt, because my hotel was like half a mile from the stadium. It felt like someone just grabbed a bucket of water and just dumped it on me, and then just kept dumping it on me and dumping it on me and dumping it on me. Like, it was raining like that. It was raining hard. And then when the game started, it started to lighten up a little bit, but now the field was already flooded. Like, if you watch on the first drive, Trey Lance threw an over route to Brandon Ayuk. Look at his feet and just watch how you see the water just splashing around. Like, I don't know what the issue is with their draining system, but man, that was terrible. It was a terrible game to go to. I'm not gonna lie. If you told me that it's gonna rain in Pittsburgh on that Sunday, I ain't going, bro. That shit was
Absolutely.
terrible in Chicago.
Thank you for your time, Croc.
All right, thanks for coming on. All right, good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in today. We're gonna be back here live tomorrow, and we might be on tonight, not on this channel. I have to create something for myself and my guy Greg Pinelli. We're gonna have a Patreon show. It's gonna be YouTube/Patreon show. Trying to give you guys 2 shows a week, film breakdowns, quarterback talk, diving into the ins and outs of all that. So make sure you guys be on the lookout for that. Outside of that, man, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky. You can listen to the audio version, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. But until next time, I'm out. Peace. Did it end? Oh, okay now.